everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Y2KNostalgiK, your one-stop place for everything nostalgic in the 90s, 2000s, and today. And today we are joined by a very exciting guest, none other than Grant Kirkhope, who is a composer known for his work on tons of different games, especially Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, and so many others. And yeah, we're going to learn a little bit more today about just his career as a composer, and also get into some information behind the iconic Donkey Kong rap from Donkey Kong 64. So, welcome to the show, Grant.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, this is a phenomenal experience for me. These are games that I would mark as probably a lot of my on my top 10, probably because I played them growing up, so they have a special place in my heart. Right. But I just really look forward to chatting with you here about and learning more about the story. So I think with no further ado, where I got to start things off today is learning a little bit more about the iconic Donkey Kong rap. So anyone who hasn't played Donkey Kong 64, before you start the game, there's a rap section where kind of all the Kongs introduce themselves and they all get their own little verse. Personally, I love this aspect of the game. I almost listened to it every time that I played it growing up. And so, Grant, to start things off, could you just maybe explain to us a little bit about the story of how the Donkey Kong rap came to life?
It was really George Andreas, who's the lead guy on Donkey Kong 64. He was actually an associate designer on Banjo-Kazooie and then got his own game after that. He wanted to do a rap song for the start of the game because he felt like it was a really relevant music form. I guess it was newish at the time. Maybe not that quite new, but it's kind of really picking off. So it sounded like a great idea. So I mean, he wrote the lyrics down briefly and gave them to me and said, "There you go, I'll do something with that." And he wanted like some kind of quite fast-paced rap track, a bit like that Jason Nevins Run DMC.
Okay.
That track. It's like that. That's the way it is, whatever it is. And I was like, nah, you don't want to do that. It should be slow. So I had a synth module called a Roland JV1080, which had like a bunch of kind of drum beats in it. And I found that drum beat that was dook, 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 dook. Found that drum beat. And it sounded to me a bit like that funky Cold Medina track from years gone by. And so I thought, oh yeah, this would be great. So I said, we'll use this and, let's get started. So George and Chris Sutherland, who was the lead programmer on Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie and lots of other games, Donkey Kong Country, and also he did the voices behind Banjo-Kazooie and Kazooie.
Oh, nice.
He was the other rapper. So George and Chris, we had a kind of makeshift booth at Rare that time, a little thing we kind of put together ourselves, and a DAT recorder, and just that those two were in the booth and just took a line each, and I was kind of guiding them along as they went. Did all the vocal lines, and then I got the banjo team to come in and do the choruses, the D, K, donkey, that bit. That kind of.
Oh, okay.
That was most of the banjo team, and then I started to put it together, and I decided to have an instrument, per Kong. Trumpets for DK, guitar for Diddy, just a big timpani drums for the big Kong, Lanky Kong. Is it Lanky Kong? Chunky Kong. Anyway, finished it all, put it together. I thought, this would be great. People are going to love it, So we thought it was hilarious. And of course, when the game comes out, no one really liked it. Everyone thought I was trying to do a credible rap track, a credible rap track. And that wasn't the point. It's supposed to be a joke, really. It wasn't supposed to be particularly good, really. So unfortunately, no one really got the joke at the time except me. So I think it got, people didn't like it. It got a bit of a slagging at the time. But I guess as the years went by, people started to see it for what it is, and I guess it's become sort of iconic now. It's a bit bizarre, but I mean, funny enough, I think the young kids who play, I guess how old you were when you played it, but the young kids who played it didn't really understand the kind of it's supposed to be not. They got the joke. The young kids got the joke. It was the teenagers who were into rap music didn't get the joke.
Oh, okay.
The young kids who played the game and just were young and just thought it was funny and they completely got it. But it was the older kids that were kind of thinking it's not a proper rap track like we listen to it all day long. So I guess it's taken 20 years for people to like it, but they like it now.
No, I've always loved it, and it's been one of my favorite. But I gotta say that's definitely interesting to kind of see the backside of it and everything that kind of went into it. So I guess the other thing, kind of going off of that question, was the DK rap always a plan then to be a part of the game, or was it something that kind of developed as the game was in its development stages?
No, that was the only thing we had for the intro. It was always going to be that.
It was always going to be that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the game got a good reaction, but not the rap.
The rap didn't get too many people right off the bat there, but it's funny how over the years it's become really quite accepted by everybody. And in fact, I've even seen, I don't know if you've seen, but people have started remixing it to like iconic songs like Queen and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, I guess Nintendo remixed it for Smash Brothers a couple of times, so I guess they liked it too. So, it turned out all right in the end. Just took a bit of time.
Took a little bit of time, that's for sure. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is how you approached the different characters for their verses in that. And because you mentioned it already, but you used an instrument to kind of highlight each of the character during their verses. So if you want to talk a little bit more about your choices with that.
Yeah, I felt like DK needed the trumpets because that was in the main tune that Dave Wise wrote for DKC. Diddy had a guitar, so I'm a guitarist, so I did the guitar stuff for Diddy. I think it was a baritone sax for Tanya. I kind of thought it was funny because she was so small and the baritone sax was so big. Lanky's because he's a bit crazy, gets a slide trombone because he's a bit crazy. And we've got the big drums for Chunky Kong. So I was trying to get an instrument to reflect the personality of each character.
No, that is exactly what it came off as me, because I remember always thinking that it just sounded right to me. Each of the person's verses, not only with the lyrics but also how they sounded. So, in the game, the characters each have kind of a musical instrument that they use for certain mechanics. Did you have a kind of a voice in deciding that aspect, or was that something that you were kind of given and you worked into your compositions in that?
Yeah, I think because I used it in the rap, it was used in the game. So
okay.
I did the rap quite early on. I think when the game was starting out, So I feel like it bled into the game because it was in the rap.
Oh, that's very interesting, because I know from my perspective as a player in that, I would have never guessed like how the musical instruments were kind of brought into as a mechanic in that. So it's interesting to see that you used it as the rap kind of first, and then it was kind of brought over to the game, not the other way around.
Honestly, I really can't quite remember, but it would seem to make sense if I did the tune first. But It's been a lot of years, so I can't remember. I'll have to ask George. I can't remember.
Very true, very true. Now, a controversial part of the rap, I know at least from when it first launched, was the inclusion of the word hell. Do you want to talk a little bit about, like the choices of including that word, and also kind of like how it was, I guess, received when you initially released the rap?
Yeah, so like that isn't a curse word in the UK at all. It's
okay.
No, it's just not. Everyone says it all the time. So we were quite surprised when it was only America that complained about it, because America's got that kind of crazy evangelical part of it that's a little bit obsessive. So I guess the kind of middle America people don't like to use the word hell, which we just thought was crazy. So we just left it in because we thought it was stupid to be so reactionary about something so small. And so Nintendo didn't complain about it, and we didn't even think about it. It was just that kind of the Bible bashing part of America that's a little bit crazy. They didn't like it, so that was that.
No, that's it's also funny too, because even looking back on it now, it's like I didn't even realize it myself.
Yeah, in the UK, there's a phrase we all kind of go, "Oh, bloody hell, that's ridiculous." It's like you think about the bloody hell, I guess it's pretty nasty, really. But it's one of those UK phrases that people say, "What the hell are you doing?" It's like it's in the language so much that it just means nothing to us in the UK. So no one thinks of it as a curse word or implying the reverse of heaven. If we just don't believe it. So it was crazy. We couldn't believe people reacted to it the way they did. But it wasn't such a big deal. But it certainly people were going, "Oh my God, this is a proper curse word in a song." I mean, like. We were all like, where's the curse word? Which word is it?
Which word are you talking about? Yeah.
So it's daft.
Now, which one of the Kongs would you say is your favorite, and why, if you had to pick out of the bunch?
Oh, that's a tough one. I like DK. I mean, he's the main man, right? So I think I like DK. And it was, it was cool to do Mario Rabbids Donkey Kong Adventure in 2018 there, so I got to go back to Kong again. So I do like DK. He's got a great personality, and also, I think Rare at that time really owned DK. They owned the character because they'd done such a great job in the Donkey Kong Country games. And then we got to the DK64, and I felt like DK was firmly at home at Rare in those days.
No, I 100% agree. Yeah, the Donkey Kong countries were iconic, and I know that Donkey Kong 64 ranks up there as one of my all-time favorites. Just in all aspects of that game, I really enjoyed how it was treated. Where are you brought on as the composer for projects such as Donkey Kong 64 and Banjo? Are you brought on after the game is kind of close to being done development, or are you from the very beginning?
So, I was a staff composer at Rare, so it was just a staff job like anybody else. So we're on it from the start, really. So, I was on Banjo from the start. I was on DK from the start. I guess all of them from the start, apart from Golden. Because Golden, I was going up before I got there. So I got there in '95. And so Golden, I've been going a little bit of time before I got there. But yeah, you're on from the start. But when you're a freelancer, like I am now, you can be brought on at any point.
Okay.
Mario Rabbids, I got brought on pretty near the start on the first game. I'm being brought on pretty near the start for this game. Well, I guess not that near the start. Maybe a year or 2 years or so. It just depends. Sometimes you're brought on at the end. Sometimes it just as I said, as a staff guy, you're in the building, so you're gonna see it and start right away. It's a freelancer, it could be any time.
How do you go about creating these songs that are so reflective of the personality of these levels? Kind of, what is your process when you're given a world to create a soundtrack for?
I think it's just about using your imagination, really. It's like anything. It's like shut your eyes and what does it sound like, And I do feel like some things in human beings just expect to hear certain things at certain points. And it's because of the movies from years gone by that it just bleeds into all the culture, right? So, someone says to me, it's a frozen ice castle. I'll be thinking about spiky instruments to represent the spiky ice. That's what I imagine. So it'll be like glockenspiel and celeste and pizzicato strings, things like that. Or maybe some kind of majesty, some kind of majestic thing where it represents the majesty of the mountains or the snowy mountains or whatever it is, that kind of thing. Or if it's like a forest or something, like a Zelda forest or something, or a forest from Kingdoms of Amalur, it's going to be some nice woodwinds or some nice smooth strings that represent the fields and all and the grasslands and all that. It's really just using your imagination. And I feel like most composers these days, you know what's expected really when you get offered those kind of things. Or a lava level is going to be maybe bubbly brass that's down the bottom, like low brass notes that are going to represent the lava and the heat of it and all that. I think you just got to use your imagination. And I think once you start writing something, you'll soon know whether it fits or not. It just you can do a little bit of the tune, stick it on the level, run around a bit, and work out if it fits or not. I think that you do get a real sense of it matching or not very quickly. So it is just like use imagination. I think it really is. I think like art, like music is very like shut your eyes and what do you see? Where when you're programming something, it's a bit more functional. It's like tasks and making things work and all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, exactly, yeah.
I feel like the artist. I think that the creative part of it is the design and the character models and the music and that kind of stuff. It's like that. You just got to shut your eyes and what do you hear? What do you see?
So personally, as a composer, what would you say your thoughts are on the relationship of both the sound and the visuals of a game?
I think music's massively important to the game. I feel like the what you see tells a story, but what you hear tells you how to feel. That's what I think. Especially in movies. You take the soundtrack away, it's just not the same experience. And same with the game, you take the music away, it's not the same experience. I feel like when you got your driving games, and I guess you could probably have anything in there that just it's kind of a pumping track that drives it along. You could take the music out and put something else in there. Fair enough. But I feel like when you got your platformers or your storytelling games or your RPGs, the music is such a massive part. I mean, I couldn't imagine playing Zelda without hearing that melody and those tunes that we all know and love, or Mario for that matter. I couldn't imagine playing it without it. I couldn't imagine Star Wars without the music of John Williams. You would miss Darth Vader's theme. You would miss Luke Skywalker's theme. You miss a Star Wars theme. I feel like I guess something like Star Wars, the part of the reason that movie is so great is because the music is so great, and people associate those tunes with the music and with the movie, and it just makes it that more special. And I feel games are exactly the same. I think that music plays a massive part. I just think it does. I think if you get it right, it makes it all the more better experience. You've got some kind of creepy game going on. You can wander about to ambient music that kind of comes and goes, and it kind of scares you a little bit. But when you've got those kind of platformy, big storytelling games, I think you need to have that grand soundtrack that brings it alive.
I 100% agree. It really does like pull on all your emotions and get you in the zone for basically each and every part of the story. And it's if even to think of playing a video game with the sound off is almost like a non-existent option, at least from my perspective. It's not the same game at all.
No, I think that you need to. It makes it all the more better if you can remember the tune, or you hear the tune outside the game, and it brings it back to you. Then I think we've done our job. I think the music has to match, has to be completely glued to the level. So when you take the tune away from you listen to the tune by itself, it still makes you think of the level or what you did. So I feel like that's really important.
I know that's something that I've always said too, and especially with like the Donkey Kong games and Banjo and stuff like that. That's how I've always felt as well, is that I could hear these songs separate from the game, and I could almost describe you the level in that. Whereas, if you just see the visuals themselves in that, it's the song definitely brings a strong bond to those visuals.
Yeah, I think that's the job of the composer, to make it memorable, and to glue it all together.
So, one thing that I was interested about is how technology has changed kind of since when you were working on Donkey Kong 64 and that, where it was mostly based on cartridges, versus now. Has there been a big change in how you've been able to compose songs in terms of your limitations in that with technology?
Yeah, so it's a lot different now than it was then. I feel like the way I compose it is exactly the same. I haven't changed that at all. Like, I think I just mess around on the keyboard till I find something that I like, and and I'll just add to it and make it into a complete thing. I think that's not changed, but the instruments that you can use have changed. So from working on the original Game Boy, where you just got 4 channels, 3 note channels and a noise channel, and then going to the N64, where you could have 16 channels of 16 different instruments, but you still got to make it your little MIDI orchestra inside the cartridge that the game plays. And it's all tiny samples that are all looped to make them really small and make so the quality's bad. CD quality is 44.1 kilohertz, right? And like the sample quality in the Banjo cartridge was like 16 kilohertz at best, so it's well under half. That's what
Wow.
sonic quality that you get from a CD. Some instruments were even down to 8 kilohertz or 11 kilohertz. So that shows you the kind of how much we had to cut away. And then they were compressed after that. So we cut them down first of all to the smallest we could, resample them to a lower sample rate, then compress them. So by the time they get into the game, they're like super bad quality. So the fact that they sound any good at all is just amazing. But to go from that, to like a full live orchestra within 10 years. So I think I started in '95 at Rare. My first live orchestra was Viva Pinata. It was like 2006, I'm guessing, something like that. So that's like 9 years. 11 years, and you get into a full live orchestra in the game for Batman. And I wasn't the first. There was plenty of people before me that did it, so it wasn't like it was out of the question. So I think that, and of course you get these great big sample libraries now where you buy an entire orchestra sample library and you use it, and you can make it sound pretty real. Like Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle was like 50 minutes of live orchestra, and the rest of it was my samples here. So it's definitely changed that way. You've got access, but you still have to. The music is still compressed to go on the disc. It's not full. It's still not.
Okay.
It's still not full quality yet. So you're still not getting absolute pristine full quality. Although I can't tell the difference. Like high quality MP3, I can't spot the difference between that and a wave. I can't tell. So, but the music's still compressed to go on the disc because disc size. I think on the Blu-rays it's like 40 gigs. You got a lot of space there. Mm-hmm. But music at full quality. It takes up a lot of space. If you think like a 3-minute track's about 30 or 40 meg, and an MP3 of that's like 3 meg. So you can get like 10-to-1 compression rate, right?
Okay, yeah, that is a pretty big
Yeah.
jump.
Yeah, so if you were putting full quality waves onto a disc, it would take up a massive amount of space. I mean, I don't think it would fit with the game, the rest of the game code, and the graphics. So music's still compressed, but I kind of think you really can't tell the difference. The compression rates the compression is so good these days that at some point maybe it'll change, but right now we're still compressing it.
Yeah, I was always interested to see because I knew that on cartridges and that there was like a lot of compression that had to take place. So it's neat to hear that there's still a little bit, but because of the technology, it's really allowed you to kind of get a lot higher quality into a smaller space.
Yeah, I feel like the Banjo-Kazooie music and sound effects all fitted into 1 megabit, something like that. It was tiny. I think 2 megabits in the second game, Banjo-Kazooie. But it was tiny.
Very small compared to the files that we see today.
Yeah.
So I think now we'll branch into a little bit more about your background as a composer, because I feel like that's a career that people maybe don't know too much about, kind of the background and stuff like that. And so I'm really interested to hear a little bit more about kind of your journey to becoming a composer and being a part of all these phenomenal things that you've been able to create. So maybe if you could start off by talking a little bit, when did you start composing and, kind of start this journey of yours?
So I only really started composing a year before I worked at Rare.
Oh, wow.
So that was like 1994. I started at Rare in 95. Prior to that, I'd been through school. I was a classically trained trumpet player, a self-taught guitar player. I went to music college and did a 4-year degree in music. But I was terrible at harmony. So I failed the exam like 3 years out of, I had to pass it once in the 4 years, and I failed it 3 years out of 4. And after leaving university, I've kind of, I was playing in metal bands and playing in other bands on trumpet, and touring, doing some quite big tours and stuff. But never wanted to think about composing. Like I wrote songs for the metal bands that I played for, but never once thought about composing. Never entered my head, But I was playing local bands in my local area as well as touring stuff. One of my friends was called Robin Beanland, who was a keyboard player in one of the bands that I played for. So he announced one day he got a job at Rare. I couldn't believe it. Like, none of my friends got jobs. We all just playing in bands. So off he went to work at Rare, So he'd been there about a year and a half. He said to me, Grant, I've been off and on unemployment on and off for like 11 years probably, since I was 22 to 33. Never had a job, just played in bands. Sometimes did great, sometimes did terribly. Lived at home with my mother still, which is quite bad for somebody who's 33. He said, look, why don't you try do what I do, Grant? Why don't you try write music for video games? I was like, well, I get to try, but I was terrible at harmony at college. I don't think I can do it. So he recommended that I bought a little bit of gear, bought some equipment to some computer stuff to start doing it. So I started in earnest in 1994. So I really only spent a year doing it before I got the job. And I sent Rare 5 cassette tapes over the course of 1994 and never got a reply. And then out of the blue, I got a letter saying, please come for an interview. I couldn't believe it. So I drove down to Rare. It's probably about 100 miles, I think, from where I lived. Is it that far? I can't remember. And David Wise interviewed me. Would you believe that I got the job? I couldn't believe it. So it was like a really weird thing to get a job. As I say, I only really started composing in 94, and I got the job in 95. So it's a complete fluke. If Robin hadn't suggested that, I would never have done it. It was all down to him. If he hadn't done it in the first place, I'd still be playing in local bands in local pubs in my local area to this day.
That is really neat to kind of hear, the background story, because if you would have asked me, I would have never guessed that the composing aspect was something that you got into like that late, like kind of the events that led to you being a composer at Rare.
I know, when I think about it now, it's crazy, but it's one of those flukes. It's one of life's flukes, right? I think that Robin decided to do it and then suggested that I had a go at it. That was it. It's so bizarre. I think that if he hadn't done it, it's those little branch points in your life you look back on and go, if that hadn't happened, thinking, if Robin and tried to get a job at Rare and got one, and then suggested I would do it, I would never have thought about it. It would never have happened for me. I would just have stayed playing in bands until I became a tramp, probably. So I think it's crazy that those little moments in your life that you don't realise are so pivotal.
It is very unique, and I agree 100% that there are these small little moments in life where maybe at the time you don't realize like the impact that'll lead, but it takes you on almost like a path that you never saw as an option that has now become such a large part of your life.
I know. I feel you get to that kind of junction where you could go either way, right? And it's this is
Hmm.
bad, this way is good. It's like you just, I don't know. It's bizarre how it happens.
It is, and it's like I always find it neat because at the time you don't see the impact of your choice. You know what I mean? So like your choice to start sending the cassettes and make composing at the time, you're like, okay, maybe I'll try something like this. Like it doesn't seem at least for me when that happens during my life, that big of a decision. And then after 5 or 10 years, you realize just how important that one small choice was.
No, I mean, like I was 33. I mean, by that point, most people have found the career, right? I had no career.
Hmm.
I've never actually had a job. I just played in bands, off and on. So I never actually had a proper job that was 9 till 5. I didn't do that. So to get to that point in your life, 30, I think 33 is pretty late to decide what you want to do, or find something to do. So I think I was very lucky.
So you got your job there at Rare. So what was your first composing gig with Rare that you got to take on or handle?
So the very first job at Rare that I got was converting the music from Donkey Kong Country 2 on the Super NES to work on the original Grey Game Boy. So I had to convert Dave Wise's tunes from the SNES to go onto the Game Boy. So that was tricky. Like I didn't really understand that. It was pretty hard. And it wasn't what I expected. I kind of thought I was going to get them by doing what I'd been doing at home with the synthesizer and MIDI files and the rest of it. But I wasn't given that thing. I was given I guess I was a new boy, so I was given the lowest task. Right? So, like Dave was really good at that. He was brilliant at that kind of, like it's all in hex, right? It's on a black screen. There's 4 numbers. The first 2 numbers are the note. The second 2 numbers are the length. So you do it note by note like that in columns.
Oh
In
wow.
columns, right? Right. So it was proper kind of computer stuff that I didn't know how to do. And so Dave was really good at it. So that first day I got there, he showed me that really fast, and I was like, oh my God, this is so difficult. I'm going to have to resign. So I called Robin and said, look, Robin, I just can't do it. It's too hard for me. I'm going to have to resign. It's the first day, but I just can't do it, And he said, look, Douglas is stupid. You need to call Dave up and get him back in tomorrow to show you how to do it again and write down each step by step, I said, okay, I'll try one more day, but after that, I'm going to have to quit, So I got Dave back the next day, and I got my notepad out and said, right, Dave, can you show me again? I didn't quite catch it all. And I just wrote down every single step, like step 1, press this key. Step 2, do this. Step 3, and I wrote it in a big list. And after you do it 100 times or so, it starts to become second nature. So, and then at the end of it, I did enjoy it. I liked it. It was, trying to get the most out of the Game Boy that you could, which wasn't much. Because Dave's tunes on Donkey Kong Country 2 were so good, I wanted to do them justice because I think it's a brilliant. I love that soundtrack from Dave. It's brilliant. So so I just spent time learning how to do it, and I quite enjoyed it in the end. As I say, it was quite fun to try and see what you can get the Game Boy to do. But in the first few days, it was very daunting. I just didn't think I had the brains to do it. It seemed like ridiculously hard to me.
So you started off, and that was your first kind of job with Rare. So then, eventually, over the years in that, I believe Banjo-Kazooie the first game you got to be like the full composer for?
Yeah, so I did like half of GoldenEye. So Graham Norgate and me did GoldenEye together, and then Banjo-Kazooie was the first game. I did all the music and all the sound effects. So that was my third game, really.
Okay, so do you want to talk a little bit about, kind of that transition period from when you, had just started at Rare and you're doing these conversions and that to getting the opportunity where you have kind of full control over the sound of, and I didn't realize also that as the composer you also get to do the sound effects as well.
Yeah, so back in those days, there was several composers at Rare. There was me, Robin Beeland, Graham Norgate, Dave Wise, Evelyn Fisher. So you all just get given a game each, right? That's how it works. So we did all the sound effects and all the music. That's how it worked. I guess me and Graham did GoldenEye together, but Graham still did most of I think all the sound effects, and he did music too, and I just did music on GoldenEye. So Banjo was just my first. It was me to do my first time to do my own game rap. So I guess I was a little bit scared that it was my first time to do my own thing. So I guess it's a little bit daunting at the start. You kind of how am I going to do it, and I guess try to find the sound of banjo because I knew that we were trying to beat Mario 64. Actually, Mario 64 was a game that got 10 out of 10. It was the 3D platformer on the machine. We wanted to try and beat that. I'm not saying we did do it, but that was our goal. I knew that trying to write that kind of poppy jazz that Nintendo write, I just couldn't. I'm not very good at that. I can't do it, and I kind of thought that's not the best way for me to try and beat it. To copy them is a mistake. So I need to find my own sound. So I kind of messed around a little bit, and I think I didn't really find it until maybe later in the levels. So I think that maybe My Monster Mansion or something like that. Because I wrote Mumbo's Mountain and Treasure Trove Cove early on, but I came back and changed those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the tunes that I'd written, Chris Stamper was one of the bosses, said, we really like the rest of the game, but the first two levels don't sound right to match them. Because I got that kind of quirkiness later. I kind of got that quirky thing that Banjo-Kazooie have, that they're known for.
Yes, it's very...
yeah, it's kind of oddball, quirky, kind of thing. It's kind of, I got it kind of from Danny Elfman, sort of, a little bit like that. He writes music a bit like that, like in Beetlejuice.
Oh, okay.
I kind of feel I stumbled across it maybe later, so I went back and changed the first two levels. I was just trying to find something that that I thought would match their characters. That they were oddballs. So more, I didn't want it to be sort of a sweet poppy track. I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted it to be British, Monty Python-esque, that kind of Brit humour that everybody knows Britain for. And I feel like the game had that humour in it. I wanted the music to match the humour. So trying to find something quirky that was a bit off the wall, you don't know whether you succeed or not, because like in those days there was no internet, or like the internet was in its very early infancy, so you had to wait. You waited a month for the reviews. You waited for the magazines to review it, and that's how long you wait for a review. You didn't get it the next day or the night, because these days you get it the same day practically. When the game get released. But in those days you had to wait for the review, so you had no idea whether people liked it or not, or what the reviewers thought of it. So you just had to do your best and hope that it was all. I mean, also the music for Banjo-Kazooie seems to have lasted the test of time. People still like it to this day, which is bizarre to me. I feel like I thought the game would be gone in 6 weeks, 6 months. People would forget about it and move on to the next thing, like they do these days. So it's crazy and it's really humbling that people still like the Banjo-Kazooie tunes, even though they're pretty awful quality, like sonically, compared to what you listen to these days. So it's pretty crazy to me that people still like it, but I guess it is something right. I don't know what that was, but it seems to have people seem to like it, which is crazy. So really nice they like it.
No, I've always loved kind of the songs from at least those the 64 eras, and especially when I was younger, in that you didn't realize that you were the same composer behind like these 3 different games, but the soundtracks on them to me were just always super iconic, spot on for the levels in that, and just had a bunch of really nice, patterns in that you would recognize from the years going on.
Yeah, I think that, working at Rare in those days, like Rare was, partly owned by Nintendo. And also the guys that ran Rare, Tim and Chris Stamper, were massive Nintendo fans. Like all the company was really. We're all massive Nintendo fans. And so, it was like you have to write music that's as memorable as Nintendo. And as likable as Nintendo, you have to do that. And that's a tall order. You don't know you can do it till you try. And I didn't know if I could do it. None of us did. So I think that we tried to write something that was 2 minutes in length, that went round and round and round and round, and didn't get on your nerves, and was catchy, but not too catchy that it gets on your nerves. You have to kind of find that middle ground. So it's like it's a hard task. And I feel like a lot of the guys that started back in the day, when I started, to this day, they still write good tunes. I think it's a real good skill to learn how to write a catchy melody that's got a hook in it that people can remember, but doesn't get too annoying. So the only one that I think that I wrote that was annoying, and that was purposeful, was Cloud Cuckoo Land in Banjo-Tooie.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I wanted, because the level was crazy, and I wanted to make the music as crazy and to bore into your head as it could. So I kind of feel that's the one tune that I sort of purposely tried to make maybe slightly annoying. Because of the levels, I felt was slightly annoying, so.
Match the same energy that the level's bringing. I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're working on these, these titles for Rare, like Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64, what were your expectations of where the games would go in terms of, how appreciated they were in that? Did you ever see that they would go to the level they are today, where, you know, like 20, 25 years later, these are sometimes still the favorite titles of a lot of people.
I know that's crazy. I feel like in that era of that Rare's, I guess, golden era, I guess you could call it, right back then. Um, you know, we all tried so hard. It was like a real us against the world thing, right? So Tim and Chris Stamper were fantastic bosses. Rare was really good to its staff. And everything they touched just turned to gold really at that point. Everything was going, you know, Perfect Dark and GoldenEye and Conquer and Jet Force Gemini and all those games, you know, they did amazingly well, you know. It just felt like we could do no wrong. Because everybody was really trying. The teams were like really switched on. They'd assembled a fantastic bunch of people, you know, the interviewed people really, really carefully. So I think that we all felt really grateful to be there because Rare had done. I mean, before that, when they were Ultimate Play the Game, they had so many hits on the Spectrum. You know, they were known for being the Spectrum guys. And then when they switched to the NES and then the SNES and then the N64, they just kept making hit after hit after hit. You know, so that's a reflection of the management picking the right people and guiding us all. Like, you know, Tim and Chris Stamper were very guiding. You know, because they knew what they wanted. They were always in total agreement about what they wanted. And so I feel like that's the reason that we had all that success then. But, you know, you don't think it's going to last. Like, you know, usually when a console finishes, you go to the next console, that's all forgotten, and you're on to the next one, you know. So I think that the N64 had a really good run, the console itself. People really love that console. You know, I think over the years it's become one of those consoles that everybody just looks back on and goes, oh, it was great in those days on the N64. Because it had the 4 controllers, you could play 4 people. The GoldenEye was a big success because of the multiplayer. You know, people got real fond memories of that console. You know, so to get to the current day and people are still talking to me about Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64, Perfect Dark, whatever it is. You know, it's amazing to me that people still do that. And I guess I'm probably one of the more reachable people to get. I mean, you know, I just did the music. You know, everybody else did the art. They did the art, but there's always like lots of artists, lots of programmers. There's usually one composer, so it's easier to pick me out to talk about it. You know, you know, just, you know, I thank my lucky stars that Robin Beanland decided to get a job at Rare and then suggested I did it, and I got into the. I mean, you know, it's absolutely. I just thank my lucky. I really do thank my lucky stars. How on earth I managed to pull that off, I really don't know. And to still be writing music 25 years later, whatever it is I don't know. I almost can't believe it. You know, it's like one of those bizarre things. So, like I said, the fact that all these games that are so well remembered. And something like GoldenEye is still held up as being one of the best first-person shooters of all time, even though
Yes.
we look back at it now and it's a little bit, the quality isn't great and all that, but the gameplay, that part, the thing that the skeleton that holds it all together is brilliant, right? And I think that's amazing for that to last all that time, even or Banjo or anything like that, or Conquer or any of those games, like just amazing. I mean, you can't believe it, you know.
So you did these games kind of for Rare for the Nintendo 64, and then you did also a lot of composing over the next 10 or 15 years. And I think one of the titles that I found the most interesting when I was reading up about you was your composing for the Mario Rabbids game. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, because I think from what I read, and you can confirm this if you want, it was like one of the first time that Nintendo had brought on a composer from kind of the Western area in that.
Yeah, so that's slightly different. So, Mario Rabbids is done by Ubisoft Milan. So it was, I think, you know, for Nintendo to give Mario to Ubisoft was a big deal, right? That's their main IP. It's their big property, right? Which they rightfully want to protect. So Davide Soliani, who's the creative director at Ubisoft Milan, had to present an idea to Mr. Miyamoto in person, which is like, can you imagine how nerve-wracking that must be?
Very nerve-wracking, yeah.
So Davide put together a little demo in Unity in like 3 weeks and took it to Mr. Miyamoto, I think it was in San Francisco, and showed it to him, and he liked it. Like that kind of, you know, turn-based strategy thing or something they had before. And they sort of said to Davide, you can take Mario and do something with it we don't do. You can break him, you know, giving him guns. I mean, who would have thought Mario would get a gun, right? So you know, I think that was a massive big deal. So they had the game going for about a year, I think. And I got an email from their producer there called Gianmarco Zanna on LinkedIn just saying, we've got a game we think you'd be great for. Are you interested? And I was like, yeah, of course, you know. So got into talks with them, and they said, yes, it's a Rabbids game. It's called Rabbids Kingdom Battle. The code name was like RKB. I was like, oh yeah, I knew the Rabbids characters. My kids watched the cartoons. I thought they were really funny. I feel like the Rabbids kind of predated the Minions in some respects. Like, crazy, they have to do crazy things. They don't understand anything. They break stuff, and it's like the Minions, I thought, yes, it'd be fun, So they flew me out to Paris, and I met with Davide and Roman Brio, who's the audio director at Paris there, and they kind of brought me to the back of the studio through lots of closed doors and lots of security doors. And I thought it was a bit strange because the security was so high. They didn't realise. I just thought this is a Rabbids game. Everyone knows who the Rabbids are. And it's Paris. Like they all know the characters, So I got to the door, got through that, and the team was all sat there. And I got taken to a side room with Davide and Roman Brio, and said, "Yeah, we'll show you the game." Right. So they turned the TV on, and Mario stood there. And I thought perhaps I'd been playing Mario, because of the getting bored. I was a bit late, kind of thing. And Davide started to move Mario with the controller, and I was like, "What is this?" He said, "But it's a Mario game. Has no one told you that?" And I was like, "No, no one told me it's a Mario game." So instant dread just filled my soul at that point. Because I just thought, how on earth am I going to write music for a Mario game? Because Koji Kondo is the master, right? He is the Jedi Master. I'm just a mere Padawan compared to him. So I just thought, how am I going to? I can't do this. It's too hard for me. I'm never going to be able to do it. So, and Davide later said to me that they all thought I didn't like the game because I sat there for the first hour, like sort of white faced. I'm not saying a word. I'm not saying very much because I was kind of just panicking inside, going, "This is going to be a disaster for me." So I thought, well, so I flew back, came home, and I just thought, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to. So I wrote the first piece, which was the Ancient Garden thing. Sent it off, or the first 30 bars of it, whatever, and they liked it. And I thought, well, I'm off to a good start, But it turned into a fantastic thing, and me and Davide and Roman are still best friends, to this day, and we're doing the next game together now as well. And so that was a really fantastic experience. But I mean, if you'd have told me in 1995 that I'd write for a Mario game, I'd be the first Western composer to write for Mario, which I think I am. I'm not sure, but I think I am. Just ridiculous. I mean, it's just one of those pie in the sky things you'd never believe, But the Smash Brothers was where I was also I think I was the first Western guy to do that, with doing Banjo-Kazooie. So that was equally crazy and why ask me, kind of thing.
No, I think it's super interesting to hear, how the opportunities that are still coming to you during your career in that, and
in my twilight years.
Yeah, and it's great to be able to see you keep creating such iconic soundtracks in that. And so, when you found out that you're getting to compose for this Mario game, what kind of how does that make you feel, and what kind of honor does that kind of bring for you, knowing that you're able to in a way compose on what is seen as one of the the highest mountains of soundtracks in gaming?
It's just, I mean, to get asked to come back and do Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, it's very flattering. There's a million great composers out there. So to ask me to come back is nice. And, I mean, me and David are great friends, but he's got a massive choice of composers. He doesn't have to trust me. So that was super flattering to do that again. And I feel like Mario Rabbids was very well received. It sold 7.5 million copies so far. It's done really well. I think it's the highest selling third-party title on the Switch, which is amazing. So to get asked back's fantastic. And I kind of loved doing the first game, so I'm loving doing the second game right now. And they asked me to do the trailers as well, which is really cool. A lot of times they don't ask the composer that does the game to do the trailers.
Okay.
They usually get somebody else to do it, or they use licensed music a lot of times. So it was cool to be able to kind of sculpt the music in the trailers, and there's the gameplay trailer and there's the main cinematic trailer. And some of the themes in those trailers will transfer to the game, which is great too. Really flattering to get asked to come back. And also it's a little bit scary because, you've got to run some things that I write. Like I did a little version of the conservatory tune from Mario Galaxies in the trailer for Mario Sparks of Hope.
Oh.
It's kind of Rosalina's theme. So, and Koji Kondo had to okay that. He had to okay it that he thought it was good and that it was the right notes and all that stuff. So, to think that Mr. Kondo is listening to my stuff and going, like that's pretty, it's pretty scary and flattering at the same time. So amazing.
No, I think it's fantastic, and I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing, the final product in that with that game. Think that's pretty much good for the questions and that. So one of the things we like to do here on Y2Nostalgic is we like to end off the interviews with some sort of a fun game or activity with the guest. And Grant has agreed to do a little bit of Name That Tune with soundtracks from Banjo, Donkey Kong 64, and Banjo-Tooie.
All right.
How it's going to work is I will play a soundtrack from one of those three games. And we'll give you 1 point if you can nail which game it's from, and if you can tell us the level, whether that's the proper name for the level or even explaining it, then we'll give you another 3 points as well.
All right.
With no further ado, let's go ahead and try the first song.
Easy.
Did you say easy?
Yes, it's Jungle Japes from Donkey Kong 64, isn't it?
Yep, it 100% is. Jungle Japes is one of the first levels on Donkey Kong 64, full of luscious vines, as well as, some other fantastic, introductions for the series. We also get to meet our first second playable Kong, Diddy Kong, and it has one hell of a final boss with the Armadillo. Look at those cannons. You didn't even need to wait for it to get to the
Yeah, those drums do it, I think.
Yep. So that one is done. Song number 2.
Treasure Trove Cove from Banjo-Kazooie.
Boom. Treasure Trove Cove is the second map on Banjo-Kazooie, and it introduces us to a nice, luscious, tropical beach full of treasure and all sorts of other stuff. It also has Snackers the shark and the self-proclaimed king of the beach himself, Nippers the crustacean.
That's my buzzer.
Perfect. That's your buzzer. Awesome. I love it. 2 for 2, and I don't even know if you've needed a total of 4 seconds or not. All right. Number 3.
Oh, that's Creepy Castle from Donkey Kong 64.
Boom! Nailed it. Creepy Castle is one of the final levels that you get on Donkey Kong 64, and it definitely lives up to its name by giving this haunting, very menacing feeling for a world with lots of skeletons. And to be completely honest, as a kid, I had to quit playing during this level and make my older brother play it for me because it truly was just haunting, if you know what I'm saying. And let's go for song number 4.
So, all right, I think that's the Spiral Mountain from Banjo-Tooie.
Yes, yep, nailed it. I wanted to throw it in there because I knew it was similar to, the Spiral Mountain that's iconic from the original Banjo, but you nailed it. You picked up on the more kind of subtle. I always liked how you did that with the Tooie. It was the similar song, but you made it kind of suit the mood of the setting for Banjo-Tooie.
Yeah, it's in a major key in the first game, and I just converted it to a minor key in the second game, so it just goes from major to minor. So that's what I did.
What better way to start Banjo-Tooie than with a revitalized Spiral Mountain theme to set the tone for the second game? As I'm sure you guys remember, this is also where we see the death of our beloved Bottles. R.I.P. Bottles. Song number 5.
Mumbo's Mountain from Banjo-Kazooie.
Boom, nailed it.
Too easy, too easy.
Too easy. I'm going to have to dig more. I might have to do a round 2 of this one day. Mumbo's Mountain is the absolute first level that you see on Banjo-Kazooie. You also get to meet Conga, the orange-tossing ape or gorilla, as well as, some unique features in teaching us about the jiggies and the musical notes. We also get introduced to the Mumbo Jumbo himself, who, ironically enough, is also voiced by Grant Kirkhope himself. So, the man behind the Mumbo mask, you know who it is. Song 6.
It's Frantic Factory from Donkey Kong 64.
Boom. Literally less than a second. This is like this isn't Name That Tune. It's more like the Beat Shazam. Frantic Factory, in my opinion, is the second most scary level in Donkey Kong 64, as the music really makes you feel like you're trapped in this factory and you're running around trying to figure out what to do. The levels truly are designed just so well, and it does introduce us to our number one boy, Donkey Kong! Alright, we'll go to song 7.
What's it called? That's Banjo-Kazooie. It's the area before you go to Atlantis. It's the you know, what's it called? That. Oh, I don't know that. I tell you what, like I know it's the area before you jump into the water to go to Atlantis, but I can't remember. What is it called? I don't know what that's called.
No, you got the level right though with the description. Jolly Roger's Lagoon.
Oh, that's it. Course, God, I didn't get that one. I knew what it was. Yeah. All right, I failed that one.
Jolly Roger's Lagoon is a unique level in Banjo-Tooie that both allows us to explore the port of what could be a pirate's bay, and also includes an underwater level of Atlantis, which is super unique, and it gives us a throwback to our boy Captain Blubber from Banjo-Kazooie. So what a bundle. Song number 8.
Please Easy Peak from Banjo-Kazooie, of course, my favourite.
Nailed it, and you already talked a little bit about it, and it's interesting how you mentioned earlier, you know, you picked these different instruments to kind of match the sharpness in that, and even now when I listen back to it, I can picture what you were talking about.
I know, I really like that tune. I can still play it myself at Christmas time.
Oh, really? No, it's one of my favorite ones as well. It's very, very iconic. Freeze Easy Peak brings that wonderful joy of Christmas to life with a giant snowman based on the level, presents, lights, Christmas tree, all sorts of festive things, but most importantly, you get to race Boggy the Bear as a walrus in a sled race. So what's better than that? You tell me. Alright, song number 9.
Crystal Caves, Donkey Kong 64.
Boom! Another ace. That's probably one of my favorites from the Donkey Kong 64 track.
Yeah, it's just mine too. I like that one a lot. I think it's my favorite track from the game, actually.
Really? Yeah, I like just the, you know, the drips of the water with like kind of that calming, you know, sound. So definitely one of my favorites. Crystal Caves really brings its own unique personality with these bright crystals in cabins that are littered all around the world. There's waterfalls, glittering stones, and it's really just a nice level to explore with a peaceful soundtrack. Alright, this is the last song, song number 10, and then I got a few bonus ones that might be fun if you want to do them. I wasn't sure how long it would take, but you've been crushing them, so I'm thinking we'll have enough time to do the bonus questions. So, song number 10.
Oh, it's the mine from Banjo-Kazooie. No, Banjo-Tooie, but it's Glitter Gulch Mine.
Boom, nailed it. Another very...
That's Ed Bryan's level. We used to take the mickey out of him about that one.
Oh, really? Glitter Gulch Mines takes us back to the good old times of the Klondike Gold Rush, showing us characters such as this flying bird person and Bill the Fox. Overall, it's just a really unique level based around the mines of the Gold Rush. Alright, so these are kind of the bonus ones where I thought they might be some fun ones to throw in, so we'll go ahead and start with bonus question number 1.
That's Cranky, isn't it, in Donkey Kong 64? Cranky Kong, is it? I can't remember what it's called. The Cranky's Hut, something, is it?
Cranky's Lab, yep.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Nope, you caught it. I thought that one might be a little bit, because it's not technically a level, but it's still a very iconic song, at least from my perspective, because you know once you step foot in the lab that's definitely Cranky Kong's place.
Yeah.
Cranky's Lab is where he brews all of his amazing wacky concoctions, forcing DK and the gang to drink them, and getting weird effects. Plus, he's got the amazing jetpack minigame. Alright, bonus question number 2.
That's Mayhem Temple on Banjo-Tooie.
100% correct, yep. Mayhem Temple kicks Banjo-Tooie off right by introducing a lot of its new aspects, such as the Banjo-Tooie equivalent of 007, and also Mumbo Jumbo's ability to take things over with his mystical powers, so you get to be this giant gold statue. Alright, bonus question number 3.
That is Rusty Bucket Bay, isn't it, from Banjo-Kazooie?
Boom, yep. Rusty Bucket Bay was a level based around a giant barge sitting in a polluted little body of water, and it allowed you to really explore the ship with a bunch of little hidden areas. And the final question is this one. I called it the ultimate bonus question.
All right. No, it's Donkey Kong 64, but what's the level called? Fungi Forest, is it? No, it's a Fungus Forest. Fungi Forest.
Yep.
All right, right. I think that tune was in Banjo-Kazooie at the start, was it? Maybe I forget. One of those, something. I don't know if it was that one or something that I converted to. It didn't make it into Banjo.
Oh, okay.
So I can't remember. It sounds familiar, but yeah, Fungi Forest. So, oh, well, there you go. I've nearly got them all right, apart from one, right?
Boom! Absolutely killed them all in that. And the Fungi Forest one I always enjoyed because they had the nighttime and daytime level as well.
Yeah, that was good.
Well, that should be a wrap to our little trivia, and Grant absolutely crushed it, which is always nice to see. The fact that, you know, even after all these years of creating these songs, you can still pick them up within, like, literally 2 seconds is really, really awesome.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. I was like, getting them all wrong, actually. I mean, quite a lot of ones I can't remember what they're called, so lucky you picked ones that I knew.
Yeah, the fact that you also got the level names is really good, too, because, you know, that's not sometimes as common knowledge for people to remember the actual physical name of the levels.
Yeah, definitely. And also, they're not called that when they're working on it. It's called just level 2 or something. So.
Oh, really? They don't give you the names or stuff like that?
A lot of times the names come later, so sometimes you forget what they're called. Like in Pinata, I can't remember what the tunes are called on the CD, but they're called like Daytime 1, Daytime 2, Daytime 3, whatever, you know. So, yeah, it's like, yeah.
No, that's very interesting. Well, I think that brings us to a wrap on the interview here. So thank you, Grant, for joining us. And if there's any thing you want to give away for people on how they can reach you or support you and stuff like that, feel free to let them know.
Well, I guess my best thing is Twitter at Grant Kirkhope. I'm also on Instagram as well at Grant Kirkhope Composer. But I think Twitter's my main thing where I talk to most people. I'm usually quite good at replying to people. So yeah, Twitter I think is the best one.
Awesome, and thank you again for coming on the show. It's been an absolute blast.
Anytime, Curtis. Thanks for asking me.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for watching here today. That wraps up this week's episode, and we'll be back next week with another episode to probably finish the season. So thank you again, everyone, and feel free, if you want to support us, to go ahead and hit that subscribe button below, and so we can keep making awesome content. But otherwise, that's it for today, and see everybody later.
It's a wrap, yo, it's a wrap, yo, it's a wrap, yo.
A wrap. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. That's a wrap.
People think I'm rapping when I'm rapping all the time.
That's a wrap. That's a
wrap it up.